Hello and welcome to another edition of the Bastard Review. This time around I'm looking at ECW's November to Remember 97. This event took place on November 30th, 1997 in the Golden Dome in Monaca, Pennsylvania. We start off the night with Tommy Rogers and Jerry Lynn taking on Chris Candido and Lance Storm. Now this originally was supposed to be Rogers and Candido going up against each other, but about 16 minutes into the match Lance Storm comes out and attacks Rogers. And then Tommy's tag team partner, Jerry Lynn, comes out, and the referee decides that since they all want to fight, they'll make a tag team match out of it. It's technically not a tag team match since all four men fight in the ring, but it is an entertaining match. You might recognize Rogers as a veteran of WCCW, where he and Bobby Fulton were known as the tag team The Fantastics. This was an alright match. It really didn't do anything for me. I want to know why, if it eventually became a tag team match, why it didn't start as one at the beginning. That really didn't make sense to me. To my knowledge, there was very little story going into this match, and it felt like something that should have been on television and not a pay-per-view. Entertaining, but it could have been so much better. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. After that, Justin Credible took on Mikey Whipwreck. This was a pretty average by-the-numbers match. It was both men's first pay-per-view, so it was kind of special. Up until now, Mikey hadn't really been featured on ECW very much. I guess maybe due to injury, but I can't confirm that. Both men did very well with some back-and-forth action and a few near falls. Mikey got in a very nice whippersnapper off the turnbuckle. You know, just another average match, but there really is no story here. There's nothing to draw me in and make me care about who wins. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. After that, we have Taz defending his ECW World Television title against Pitbull number 2. Finally, a match with some story behind it. The only bad thing is, it's a whole 2-minute match. Both men get a couple moves in, and then Taz puts the Contra Hacta Mea on Pitbull number 2, and then he taps out. After the match, Taz gets on the mic and starts making fun of this big brute guy who came with the Pitbulls and Jason Wright. He starts to get in the ring. Security stops him. Taz says, "Why are you stopping him? I want to fight him." And then Taz just attacks the security guard. Kind of entertaining, but it didn't feel like a title match. It was way too short. It just could have been a lot better. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. I guess Taz attacking the security guard is supposed to be controversial. They cut to the Spike Dudley Bam Bam Bigelow match from As Good As It Gets, where Bam Bam throws Spike into the crowd. And I've seen it before. I don't really want to see it on a pay-per-view. After that, the FBI defend their ECW tag team titles against Balls Mahoney, Axel Rotten, Bubba Ray and Devon Dudley, and John Kronus and New Jack in a 4-way elimination match. The Marines have an expression to describe a chaotic and messy situation. They call it a clusterfuck. This match was a clusterfuck, but it was an entertaining clusterfuck, and it had a lot of story behind it. The FBI had gained their titles from Kronus and New Jack a few weeks earlier. The Dudleys had helped them gain the titles. The only people in this match that I really question why they were there was Balls and Axel. I'm thinking they were just there to round out the match and make it 4 teams. This was a brawl, it wasn't a tag match, and it was so chaotic that you couldn't keep track of who was doing what. Like I said, it was entertaining, there was some story behind it, and the ending really had a good payoff. I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. Up next, Tommy Dreamer takes on Rob Van Dam in a flag match. Now, whoever wins this match would be able to raise their flag. At the time, RVD had returned from a very short stint in the WWF, so he was still unofficially with them and could still be called Mr. Monday Night. This had a great story. Both men had a very bitter rivalry. The match itself was alright. Tommy Dreamer isn't much of a wrestler, so it was more of a brawl than it was like a mat-based clinic match. I also didn't like, I don't know if it was because of my video or not, but they introduced both men, and then they cut to a portion mid-match. I really didn't like that. Like I said, if it was just part of my video, Okay, I don't understand why they couldn't have shown whatever footage was deleted. The end felt like a semi-convoluted mess with referees getting taken out, some interference at the very end, which I didn't think was really all that necessary, but it leaves everything open for another match down the road. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. The ending also leads into the next match, which is Sabu versus Sandman in a tables and ladders match. And seriously, if this match doesn't convince you that Sabu and Sandman are two insane individuals, nothing will. This was a tremendously spot-heavy match, and I didn't expect anything less. As a matter of fact, I don't think there was one pin up until the very end. Some highlights are Sandman doing a somersault senton splash onto Sabu and a ladder, Sabu doing an Arabian facebuster with a ladder onto Sandman, Sandman doing a springboard leg drop onto Sabu through a table, and Sandman doing a moonsault through a table but missing Sabu. Some of these are just amazing. Like, how are they able to get up after this? Some of the spots were botched, and some of them you gotta question whether it was a good idea or not, but overall, there were some really memorable moments in this match, and it was definitely a step up from as good as it gets. In fact, this redeems that match. I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. Finally, we come to the main event. Bam Bam Bigelow defends his ECW World Heavyweight title against Shane Douglas. The story behind this is back in the end of September, early October. Rick Rude, in an attempt to dethrone Shane from the title, got in the ear of Bam Bam and convinced him that he deserved the title over Shane. Then in October, in a live event, Bam Bam was successful with unseating Shane, and he won the ECW title. This was Shane's rematch, and boy did it deliver. This was a really great match. I'm impressed that Bam Bam was able to go as long as he did. He's a big guy, and he's usually confined to maybe 10-minute matches at the most. This went for over 20 minutes. Chris Candido and Lance Storm were barred from ringside, but they started to come down anyway, and Bam Bam lifts Shane up and throws him over the ropes into the two of them and a couple of other security guards. It was a great moment. Watching this match, I didn't know who was going to come out the victor, and if you've listened to some of my videos, that rarely happens in a title match, so I was pleasantly surprised. The ending saw a belly-to-belly suplex through half a table and a chair, and the people of Pennsylvania definitely went home happy. I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. Overall, ECW's November to Remember is a pay-per-view to remember. You've got some pretty good stuff going on here. You've got some title matches that feel like title matches, and you've got some pretty good stories to back them up. ECW compilists already have this in their collection, but if you're just an average wrestling fan, I really recommend picking up ECW's third pay-per-view, November to Remember. I'm giving this a 7 out of 10. I didn't want to spoil the main event, so if you haven't seen this video and you want to, skip this part because I'm going to spoil the ending. I really wished Bam Bam had retained during this match. I think a month was far too short of a title reign for him. I think he deserved a lot more, and it's a shame because he's one of the few big guys that can really do a lot in the ring. That's very rare, and I'm kind of disappointed that ECW didn't take advantage of him while they had him. But what can you do, you know? C'est la vie. Thank you for listening. Please tune in again to another Bastard Review when I review another wrestling DVD in my collection or anything else that crosses my path.